In a previous video I explained how a mail merge works. If you want to mail merge from Excel to Word, how do you do that in VBA? You can find the previous video here, but this was a very simple case basically. It tells you how to do things with VBA, but it assumes that the first column has the full name, the second column has the street, and the third column the city. But sometimes your records are not ordered that way. So let's take a more complicated situation. In this case, last and first name are split, then there is a column or a field that should not be in the mail merge, and then street, city, state, zip, etc. In whatever order they are, you have to grab them at the right moment in the right column. So I created again 3 subroutines. Here are the shortcuts. How you make those shortcuts: go to the Developer tab, Macros, Options. If you don't know much about all of this, you need much more help that I cannot give you in this video. So this CD-ROM is very powerful to do all of that. It shows you all these options. You can find it at genesispc.com. So how can we do this? I made 3 subroutines like I did in the previous video. One creates one envelope depending on in which record you are. It doesn't matter in which cell. Then for all envelopes, for all the records, in this case only 4, but it doesn't matter how many. And finally, how do you make all labels? You do that all in a VBA, Alt F11. This is the code for one envelope. Make sure you add the Microsoft Word library, Tools, References, and make sure that the Word library is activated. Then I declare a series of variables. Which is basically new are these variables, all of the string type. And then I find out in which row am I of that long set of records, for I want only an envelope for that one. Then active cell current region, that takes everything around the active cell up to the first empty row or first empty column. Store in sname this information. It happens to be that the 2 has the first name, 1 has the last name, separated by space. Then as street, as city, that also includes whatever is in the other cells, as address, as name, that is the entire field, as name, a carriage return, as street, carriage return, and a city. And the city also includes the comma, state, space, zip code. Then, as we explained in the other video, we access Word. We create an instance of that Word application, and we do with a new document that we add to that object of the Word application, and we print it out. Then we did that for all envelopes, which is basically the same kind of structure, but this time I have to run through all the records, starting in row 2, because the first row has labels or headers, and because we use with active cell dot current region, we can take from there dot rows from that current region, count the number of rows, and go through all of them, and each time fill as name, as street, etc. We print it out like we did before. Then I added the do events command subroutine, because that printout takes time, and we want to wait and let that action. And then we reset as address to nothing anymore, so we can start with a new address. And at the end we quit all Word. And then the most complicated one, we are going to merge all the labels. In this case we have a few different variables. We ask what are the headers. That O headers is of the range type. We set all headers, all object type variables have to be set to range A1 current region, the first row from the collection of rows. As path is, let's assume that it's in the same path as the workbook is located. Then we ask, do you really want to print the labels or send them to a new document? The user has a choice. If they say yes, we want to print them out, then we set bprint, which is of the Boolean type. We set that to true. Then we create an instance of Word application. We add a new document to it. We make Word visible, otherwise it's in the background but you can't see it. And then we do a Mailmerge type of the type mailing labels. Then we say to Word, give me from all the dialogues you have in the Word application, give me the one dialog label options and show it to me so the user can select what kind of label they have. Then we activate ODoc, which is a new document added to the Word file. Then we do with ODoc Mailmerge fields. We do all of this. We set the selection range to headers. In this case, the second column, that's where the first name happens to be located. If it's in another column, you have to change that number too. And then we say the type text for that one is space, because we don't have the full name now. We have the first name and then space last name. And then we go through all the headers and we select the situation. In case 1, which is the first header, that happens to have the last name. The fourth one happens to have street. You may have to adjust these numbers. But whatever you do here, you add a new range and then you select whatever is in that column. And then you determine, do you want a paragraph type or just a space type? So the second one is also a paragraph type. The third one, which is the city, should have a comma and a space after it. The state should just have a space after it. And the zip code should have nothing after it. And select. And all the other cases will be ignored. Then we go to the next record, etc. And then we do a few weird kind of things. I'm going to do open the data source behind that Mailmerge, and you can find that in SPath. That is the Excel file that we are working in. Then you could do a send keys command, but I would not recommend that. I would go for an old-fashioned Word basic type Mailmerge propagate label. Then Mailmerge view Mailmerge field code, as explained that in the previous video. And then we have to decide, do we want to send it to the printer or do we want to send it to a new document? That depends on what the user has chosen. If bprint has been set to true, then we do this. Otherwise it's still false because it was not set, and then we send it to a new document. Then we set ODoc to nothing and OWord to nothing. I'm just going to test the last one so you can see what is basically happening. The last one I made a shortcut, developer, macros, options. Developer tab, Ctrl-Shift-L, and it's going to create 4 labels in this case, but as many as you have. Ctrl-Shift-L. Do you want to print them out or send them to a new document? I'm going to send them to a new document so you can see it. I can't show you what it's printing. It is doing all of that. Then it gives me a dialog box from Word that says what kind of labels do you have. I'm just taking the first one. Okay it. Then it says which one do you want. You want the in this case the new mail merge, that is this sheet. If you have multiple sheets, otherwise we will have just one. And then it gives you these 4 labels, as many as you have. And notice that 12 Main Street is on a new line, it's a paragraph. The other ones have space or commas, etc. I'm closing this and not saving it. And this is what you had originally here. Probably want to know much more. I told you VBA is very powerful, but you have to know what you are doing. Otherwise you are just copying code, text. So I created a CD-ROM. What is so great about these CD-ROMs? It has more than 1500 slides. They are interactive. They ask you questions. You can go at your own pace. And you have your own copy from here on your computer. And then you can give this CD-ROM to someone else in your department, or one of your colleagues, or one of your friends, and they can copy it to their machine, and they have all these beautiful issues of VB in Excel. It has helped thousands of people to become very professional. You can find it at www.genesispc.com.